ya ƙarin ilimi akan cewa yanda za a sami scholarship na Commonwealth. Today we have two outstanding people, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Abdulbasit Kassim, and his younger brother, Engineer Kamal Kassim. And fortunately for all of us, both of them were Commonwealth Scholars. Rabiu, wanda ya ƙara Abdallah ka cire shi, remove him. Wanda ya ƙara yake meeting kanshi haka, yake meeting kanshi.
And hopefully, Doctor, you can restrict access so that people cannot omit themselves again.
Okay, so I'm not the host, but I think.
Okay, let me do that.
Hey, please do that. Thank you.
But zai zamanto sai na ni zan iya mutum mutum fa an zai yi magana.
No problem.
So let me unmute.
Oh, thank you.
So we can make it a rule that anyone that want to talk, raise his hand, then I will unmute him.
Maladum, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring Kamal. I don't know what is happening. I'm trying to communicate to Kamal so he could also
Let me get to him. Let me get to him. Continue with your presentation.
Yeah, so to start with, alhamdulillah, it's so nice to be here to share my experience with regards to the application for Commonwealth Scholarship. Before I start, I want to use the medium to appreciate yourself. Okay, I think my younger brother is coming. He's coming. He just messaged me now. He's going to join very soon. I want to use this medium to first and foremost appreciate the work that you do, Sheikh, Dr. Adamu, and so many other people online as well who have been sharing information about different range of scholarship from Commonwealth to Chevening to other Erasmus Mundus and so many other available opportunities. A decade ago, this information was quite difficult to find information about scholarship, but now I'm really glad that this information is now available, and there are more people talking about seeking for opportunity. I remember at the time I completed my undergrad at ABU in Zaria, I had no knowledge about scholarship, and nobody was even talking about scholarship when I was at ABU. I applied for Commonwealth Scholarship accidentally. And I'm going to start by, I will start a story about how I applied for the Commonwealth Scholarship. So I remember when I completed my undergrad, I went back to Lagos where my mother is currently living. And I remember I went to this cafe. Then internet cafe was the in thing. Like now, people have access to internet, but then usually you go to a cyber cafe. So I went to this cyber cafe and I remember meeting one of the MSS ESCO of UNILAG, of University of Lagos, Ustaz Ayola is his name. And they were talking about scholarship. And I approached him and I asked him, what are you talking about? Can I also apply? And then they said, oh, what class of degree did you finish with? Then I told him, I finished with a 2-1. And then they said, he said, no, you can only apply if you have a first class. And then I said, well, my 2-1 is so strong. I mean, my 2-1, I mean, I had a very high 2-1. And then he said, well, these are the links. You should take the links and try to explore. And that was my journey towards applying for scholarship. I applied to 17 schools in England for my master's scholarship. And I got 16 rejections. And only one of those scholarships was successful. So when I say applying, I mean, the rejections keep coming in and it was quite disheartening, but I never gave up. I kept applying. And to something so surprising. So Kamal, who is going to join us shortly, he won the Commonwealth Scholarship for Durham University. Now, Durham University was the 16th school that sent me rejection when I applied. And when Durham sent me rejection, I emailed them back and I told them, because I was so frustrated with rejections at that time. So when I got that email of rejection, I emailed them and I told them that, please help me to review this application again. I made strong arguments in my essays. Please help me to review this application. And I remember the admission officer emailed me, and then she said that, oh, we've completed the evaluation and assessment of all the scholarship application we received. We are sorry to inform you, Mr. Kassim, your application was not successful. Now, when she emailed me, I emailed back again. I'm like, please help me to look at this application. And then they emailed me that, Mr. Kassim, we've made our final decision and we're sorry you were not selected. I was in that mood of disappointment. And 2 days later, that was when I got an email notification for the 17th school, because at that time I had given up. And then a 17th school emailed me and it informed me that I was selected. The story, which is why I'm starting with the story, is when you're applying for scholarship, you should never be tired of rejection. You're going to get a lot of rejection. You're going to get disappointment, but don't be tired of rejection. Never get tired of disappointment. It comes with the tide. It comes with applying for scholarship, but in the end, you have to have that high level of determination, motivation, and that never giving up spirit. Is that spirit that is very important, and also believing that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined is definitely going to be. So that's the moral of the story of my disappointment, which later led to blessing. Now, Commonwealth Scholarship, there are different ranges of Commonwealth Scholarship, and it's important to know the different types of the Commonwealth Scholarship and the different requirements for the scholarship, when to apply for them, when to how to meet some of the requirements and eligibility. So I am going to give like an overview of the stage by stage process of the scholarship. And then Kamal is going to talk about some other points with regards to some of the important points you need to pay attention to when you're applying to scholarship. So to start with, the Commonwealth Master Scholarship is divided into 3 different type of scholarship. The first one is the General Commonwealth Scholarship. Now, this particular scholarship is being supervised by the Ministry of Education of the Commonwealth countries, from the low income and middle income countries. So Nigeria is classified as one of the low income and middle income countries. So in Nigeria, the Federal Scholarship Board under the Ministry of Education, they are the ones that coordinate this scholarship. Usually the Federal Scholarship Board, they bring out announcements for people who are interested in applying for the scholarship, and they are the ones that do the evaluation, the selection processes. They do all of that in Abuja. So you have to keep track of the announcements from the Federal Scholarship Board. They invite you to Abuja, you do the interview, you submit all your documents, and at the end of that evaluation process, the Federal Scholarship Board, they create a list of people they've selected, and then they send it over to the Commonwealth Secretariat. And then when they send it over, the Commonwealth Secretariat will contact the candidates, and then the candidates will now submit official scholarship application. So that's the first process. I wasn't selected through that process. That wasn't the process I applied for, because at the time I finished my undergrad, for that, for the Federal Scholarship Board nomination, you have to have completed your NYSC. You have to, they have certain requirements at that time that I didn't meet. So I didn't apply for that. Now, the second type of master scholarship for Commonwealth, that's the one I applied for, and that's the one Kamal as well applied for. That's the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. Now, the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is jointly sponsored by the Commonwealth and the UK universities. So usually around like August of each year, the UK universities, they do what they call bidding. So bidding is when the UK universities, they request, they submit nomination to the Commonwealth. They tell the Commonwealth that, for this year, we want to sponsor scholarship in our master's program in A, B, C, and we want to sponsor this number of slots. Some schools fund like 6 students, some schools 1, some schools 7, depending on depending on the endowments of the universities. Now, for this particular scholarship, they usually announce the application, I think around October. That's when the application comes out. So around October, they announce the application, and the different universities, the different UK universities, they will list the name of they will list the courses that they are willing to sponsor for that scholarship circle, and the number of students they are also willing to sponsor, like 5, 6, and then you as an applicant, you can directly apply for the scholarship. By the way, before you apply for scholarship, you should definitely have applied for admission, because unlike in the US, where applying for admission comes with a package, in the US, you don't really have, in most cases, you don't have to submit a separate application for scholarship. But in England, you have to apply for admission separately and then scholarships separately as well. And the processes of applying for admission, Dr. Mogzuk, he shared an excellent post on his Facebook explaining how to apply for UK admission. I remember you also shared the same post as well on your Facebook. So I'm not going to go into how to apply for the UK admission because that is well covered. But rather what I will focus on is how to apply for the scholarship itself. So like I said previously, the UK universities they usually list the number of the courses they want to sponsor and the numbers they want to sponsor. Now, part of the thing you should pay attention to, the first thing you should pay attention to when applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship is you have to understand the development goals, the development themes of the Commonwealth. Now, there are 6 major development themes of the Commonwealth. The first theme is the theme of science and technology for development. The second theme is strengthening health systems and capacity. The third theme is promoting global prosperity. The fourth theme is strengthening global peace, security, and governance. The fifth theme is strengthening resilience and response to crisis. And then the last theme is access, inclusion, and opportunity. Now, whatever degree you've read, you have to make sure that your scholarship application actually fits into 1 or 2 of these themes. So usually what happens is by the time the application is announced, usually in October, in each of those themes, Commonwealth, so for example, their theme on science and technology for development, Commonwealth will list all the courses. The science and technology for development are usually like engineering courses. So Commonwealth will list the universities, for example, Oxford University, MSc, in engineering, like maybe automobile engineering or something. And they will list all the school, Imperial College, they will list all the courses. And then they will move to the second theme, which is strengthening health system and capacity. So students will read like courses like microbiology, biochemistry. They could apply for this particular theme because this theme, strengthening health capacity and system, often look at the whole issue around public health. And then the third theme is promoting global prosperity. Promoting global prosperity mostly focuses on like economics or development studies related international development, development studies, and economics related kind of like a program or masters. And then the other theme is strengthening global peace, security, and governance. This usually deal with like courses related to like terrorism studies, courses related to like peace studies, conflict studies. They are so anyone interested in applying, for courses in that area should target that particular theme. And then the theme on strengthening resilience and response to crisis. Usually courses in this theme focuses on like I know UCL, University of College London, they have a particular master's program in earthquake engineering, things that has to do with like natural disasters, like even climate change. Usually in masters in like climate change is usually under this theme. And then the final theme is the theme of access, inclusion, and opportunity. This theme basically cover like issues around minority rights, like women and gender studies, disability studies, people who are studying like disability. So in a nutshell, you have to make sure that whatever you've studied, whatever you've read in your undergrad, you pitch it under one of the 6 themes. So you have to have a knowledge of the 6 themes, and then you know how to pitch your course. So for example, if you've graduated with a BSc in microbiology, you know that you cannot apply for any courses around like global peace, security, and governance. You know that the theme you will be focusing on is the health system and capacity. Now, by the time you understand the themes, the next thing you do is now submitting your application. So you've already applied for scholarship already, but then now you go about like you prepare your application. And in preparing the application itself, I don't know if Kamal has joined. I hope he has joined. Wait.
He has joined us. He's with us.
Okay. So I was just looking at my message to confirm that he has joined. So you apply, you prepare your application, and you make sure that your application actually tally, like I said, with one of these themes. Now, in preparing your application, there are templates for the Commonwealth. So Commonwealth basically asks you to write essays explaining what exactly you want to do. And over the years, in my review of scholarship application, I think what people have really struggled with is these essays. I mean, I've come across credentials of people who are super brilliant. I mean, some of them have first class, some have like, I21, but the problem is usually in the essay. It's not because people do not have the ability, or the intelligence, but how to express what you're doing in a very concise way, test with hitting the nail, hitting the nail and, explaining exactly what you've done over the years in your career is sometimes quite difficult, for people. And I would love to pause here a little bit and call Kamal to explain some of the themes you can focus on when writing this essay. In my own opinion, I feel you can meet all other requirements, but this essay component is usually the most difficult component for most applicants. And don't forget, unlike other scholarship, like maybe PTDF and other national scholarship, when you're applying for Commonwealth Scholarship, you're competing with nothing less than 30 countries. Nothing less than 30 countries, usually like the middle income and low income Commonwealth countries. So you're competing with students from Kenya, from Uganda, from India, from Pakistan, so you're not just competing with Nigerians alone. So, and that's why Commonwealth is more like competitive, and the acceptance rates is also quite marginal compared to like other scholarship. But I will just stop here for Kamal to come in and explain some of the themes that you can focus on when applying for this scholarship. So Kamal, take it up from here. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so thank you so much, Dr. Adamu Tilde, for inviting me to join this section. And of course, it's a privilege to be on this call with my elder brother, who of course is like my guardian. So he's the leader in this thing. Yeah, basically there's nothing I'm going to, I'll just add little things. Yeah, he has probably said it all. I think for me, before I jump into what he wanted me to do, I think it's very important I should just talk about my own story to summarize it. So I actually graduated with 3.58 CGPA. So I'm just 0.08 or 9 to 22. So you can imagine that. And with that result, I actually got a Commonwealth Scholarship and PTDF. So this is confirmation that don't allow, you know, probably your GP, maybe if it's not up to 4 point, don't give up. You know, of course, in this call, I'm going to share how I'm able to like maneuver it. Despite having a low CGPA, still got 2 fully funded scholarship. So in the application, most likely you're going to be answering different kind of essays, but what I'm just going to list out some things, and I think it's very important you take note of them. So the first thing I want to talk about is don't be modest. Yes, I understand that some of us, we do a lot, you know, graduated with first class, this award, that award, but we just assume that, oh, if I should talk about these things that I'm doing, people are going to see that people will be thinking that, oh, this guy is proud. This guy is proud. No, please don't be modest. Talk about your achievements and be very proud of it, because it's those achievements that will probably stand you out from other people. So if, for example, in your department, you're the boss, you are the best student, or maybe when you were even in secondary school, you won an award, or maybe is in your volunteering experience, or maybe when you were doing an internship, you won an award. All those awards, please make sure you talk about them. Loud it, yes, because you work so hard to win those awards. The second thing is, especially for science or engineering-based course. The second thing is publication. So it's very important that you show your technical work, your research. I understand that some of us, after we graduate, we just move to the professional, you know, workspace and not academic per se. So we don't normally write publication. We don't write research work and all that. We don't do research work. But nevertheless, don't forget, during your final year, you actually wrote a dissertation. So that you can, if, for example, you were unable to upload it or publish it in a popular, let's say, publisher like Science Direct and other publishers, you can actually upload it in, there is this website called academia.org, if I'm correct, yeah, academia.org. So you can upload it there. Then from there, you can be able to share the link on the application. it's very important that you share a technical work. It shouldn't be an opinion. Yes, opinion is different from technical work. And preferably, the technical work should align to what exactly you are applying for. So for example, don't share something that has to do with, for example, petroleum, if what you're actually, don't share what you, a research work on, let's say, high carbon, a field like petrol, kerosene and the likes, where in your MSc, maybe you're actually pursuing, biofuels or low carbon. So just make sure that what you're actually sharing align with, what you're, with your, just make sure that the work, your research work align with what you're actually applying for. And this is what I normally tell people. Most people that get this scholarship, you realize that they mostly work in the same field over the years. Yes, you don't find them today in education, tomorrow today, for example, in girl child, tomorrow in the boy child, next tomorrow somewhere else, and all that. They most of the time stick with one field and just work on that field. Yeah, myself, for example, I've been working on biofuels for more than 10 years, since my 300 level. Even when after I graduated, I still work on biofuel. My MSc research, biofuel. Currently, I'm doing a business on biofuel. So it gives that show of seriousity, that show of commitment to one field. Yes. So that's another part. So another thing I want to discuss is act of storytelling. Yes, this is very important. Don't forget these people that will be reviewing your essays, they're humans. Yes, they really want to, put them in a situation where they can actually visualize your life, like your journey, and see how, passionate are you in this field, and not just passionate, and see how, are you visionary in this field, and see how you want to impact people using the field of study. You get it? So you have to tell them a story. Yes, tell them what actually made you interested in this topic, what made you passionate about this topic, about this field. Tell them a story. People like story. Don't just be all technical, and all that. Don't be surprised. People that will be reading your essays, they are not even, experts in your field. They are not experts in your field. But when you tell them, stories that, that they can actually relate with, I think it's help with your application. Another thing I would like to talk about is volunteering experience. Yeah, one thing I noticed with, should I say, the people with very high GP, first class, most of the time you find them in classes, in maybe mosques or church, and probably that's all. They don't have other social, things in their life. They don't even have friends. Probably their friends are also, guru like them. Yeah, so it's very important that while pursuing an academic excellence, you should also give back to your community. Yes, give your sweat, your time, your money to your community. You have to volunteer. You have to give back, because when you are selected for example, Commonwealth Scholarship, they are actually investing a lot of money in you, more than £40,000. So they have to be able to show that they have to be able to be sure that there will be a ripple effect, meaning you have to return to the country and impact positively in your community. And one ways they can be sure is by you doing or showing some volunteering experience. So my advice is make sure that the volunteering work you want to do align with your field of study. In my own case, for example, as I said, I'm interested in environment and energy. So I joined this organization called Global Shapers Community. And in that organization, any project that is related to energy and environment, I always try to to be part of it. And some of them I even champion it. Yeah, so it is very important, so it's not just when you're writing your application, it's not just about the academic excellence, but also the volunteering and social excellence. Very important. Another thing I would like to discuss is the leadership experience. Yes, this also tally with the volunteering experience. Like I said, they are investing a lot in you. They need to be able to they need to be able to confirm that you are someone that can that can lead people, because and not just lead people, but can be accountable for certain difficult tasks, and you're able to accomplish them irrespective of how difficult those tasks are. So when I say leadership, I don't mean you being the CEO or you being the founder. No, you can actually be part of the team, but you are given a particular task, and your success of that task actually impact positively in the team's efforts. So you need to be able to show that you are someone that, when given difficult tasks, you can be able to do them irrespective of how tough they are. So it's very important that you show that leadership experience. And when you are talking about that, make sure that while you are talking about the team's effort or the team's accomplishments, talk about how you yourself you are contributing to making sure that the team succeed. Yes, so that's very important, because like I said, they want to invest in someone that can be able to impact positively in their community, meaning when you return to Nigeria, they want to make sure that, okay, this person, if we should put 40,000 pounds and pay for his MSc program, when he returns to Nigeria, thousands of people will benefit from it. For example, are you going to be a lecturer where you'll be teaching like students based on what you actually studied? Or are you going to like lead an organization that is impacting positively in people's life? So it's very important. Another thing I'd like to talk about is your application. So when they want to fund you, when they decide to fund you, they want someone with the mindset of returning back to the country. Yes, this is very important. Please don't let your application to be oozing JAPA. I don't know if you understand JAPA, meaning you actually want to leave the country. Please don't. Yes, because they want to be able to invest in people that will return to their country and actually impact positively in their community's life. That is the people in their community. So if your reason for applying for Commonwealth Scholarship is to actually leave the country, if that's your priority, that's for you. But please don't write that. Don't show that in your application. Yes, because if you do that, I can assure you, you are more likely not to get it. they are most likely to pick someone that will come to the UK, study, done with the study, and return to Nigeria and impact positively in people's life. Another thing I'd like to discuss is the last one, of course, is to follow up on your application. Yes. So in my own case, when I got the reply from Commonwealth Shed, I was actually on wait lists. So I was not selected. Then I think a month later, I now reached out to them. I wrote an email and I told them that I'm actually on wait list. I want to confirm, have they like rounded up have they concluded on the lists? You know, I reached out to them. Then the head of Africa and Middle East replied, and then he forwarded my email to the admission team at Durham University. Within 2 days, I got selected. So imagine that, imagine I did not reach out to them. Yes, just imagine I did not reach out to them. They won't have selected me. So don't give up. It's part of what my brother said, that you should not give up until they say no. Then don't give up, you know, keep pushing. So if you happen to be on wait list, wait for some time. If it's 1 month or 3 weeks, then reach out to them. That is, in case if you did not get any email from them, reach out to them and ask them if they are still selecting, and you may be lucky like me. So I think these are some of the tips I thought it's important to share with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer Kamal. So,
sorry, Dr. Tilde, I was going to follow up on what Kamal said, and I'm going to make this more practical now rather than abstract by sharing my screen. I don't know if I'm a co-host, but if I'm a co-host, I hope I can share my screen. Let me see.
Yes, you can share your screen. You're a co-host.
Okay. Now, before I go ahead to share my screen, in addition to what Kamal said, please, it's very, very important to know, to have a clear goal. What is the end goal? You see, advanced degrees, masters, PhD, they are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. So you have to know, like, before you even apply for the program, whether it's a master's or a PhD, you have to have a clear goal. What exactly why do I need this master's? Why do I need this PhD? Why do I need a master's, for example, in information technology? What can I use the master's in information technology to do? Why do I want to go into this PhD program? You know, you have to sit down and ask yourself that question, because the moment you answer that question, it will shape the type of program you apply for. It will also shape schools you will target. So I will give you a very good example. I mean, although this is for PhD, when I was coming to the US for my PhD, Northwestern University was the university I was thinking about. And the reason I was thinking about Northwestern is because I had people like Dr. Amidu Boboy, who was the former director of Agawa House, who had studied at Northwestern. And I knew Dr. Amidu Boboy very well at IT in his area. And he had told me about Northwestern. Dr. Smambo Gaji also told me about Northwestern. Dr. Siraj Abdulkarim told me about Northwestern. So I had no, I was so certain that, well, for career, I want to build in academia, and the kind of expertise I want to build, I need to be at Northwestern University. So I was targeting, my application was all like targeted towards Northwestern. I'm stating that because you're not just doing a master's or the PhD for the sake of it, because particularly the master's is a very short program. It's just 1 year. After 1 year, the time runs so fast. And it's something that I call post-master's depression. Because usually, by the time you're done with the master's, you return back to Nigeria and you're confused. Like, okay, where am I going to start from? Like, you know, what am I going to do next? So it's very important to have a very clear goal of why you want to do the master's, and what exactly you want to use this master's to achieve, you know. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to, let me see, okay. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. So initially I spoke about the six themes of Commonwealth, development themes of Commonwealth. The first theme is access, inclusion, and opportunity, promoting global prosperity, science and technology for development, strengthening global peace, security, and governance, strengthening health system capacity, strengthening resilience and responses to crisis. Now, the first thing you need to do when you start applying for the scholarship, you create what I call a shortlist. Now, what is this shortlist? Shortlist is where you come. Shortlist is where you make your selection of the schools you want to target. You know, I told you when I initially started my presentation that I applied for 17 schools in England when I was applying for my Commonwealth scholarship. So this was the way I came up with that list of 17 schools. So let's say, for example, my undergrad, my BSc is in economics, for example. I got a BSc in economics, and I want to pursue a master's. Now I look at the first theme of the Commonwealth: access, inclusion, and opportunity. What are the universities that are sponsoring scholarship under this theme? So if you look at this university, Brunel University London, they're sponsoring scholarship in international human rights law. I know with my undergrad in economics, I can hardly apply for this program because international human rights law is also connected to economics. So automatically, I'm striking out the school. I'm not going to apply for the program. I move to the next school, MSc Water and Sanitation for Development. MSc Water and Sanitation is not connected to economics in any way. I mean, in some way it can be connected, but it's going to be an overstretch for you to connect economics to MSc, because MSc Water and Sanitation Development is usually for maybe people who study like water science, like water science, is it water science engineering they call it, or something related to like what field we deal with water, microbiology, maybe to an extent, or those who study community medicine. They could also apply for community medicine, could apply. But I know as an economics, or someone who has a degree in economics, I can apply for this. The next one is MA in Queer History. That is not applicable to me either. Race, media, and social justice is not applicable to me. Disability, disability study is not applicable to me. MA education, So I will go through this list and look at the schools and the courses that actually that's aligned with the BSc that I study. So London School of Economics and Political Science, they have a master's, they are sponsoring a master's program in gender development and globalization. Now, this is something related to my field of research. So what I would do is in my shortlist, I write number one, London School of Economics and Political Science, MSc Gender Development and Globalization. I do that for, if you look at this list, I'm scrolling down through the list, there's also SOAS, University of London. They are sponsoring Masters in Development Studies. I also write that down as well. Number two, SOAS, MSc Development Studies. SOAS is also sponsoring MSc in Political Economy of Development. I write that down as number three. Now, I do that for theme one, which is access, inclusion, and opportunity. By the time I'm done with theme one, let's say, for example, this first theme, which is access, inclusion, and opportunity, at the end of my survey, I was only able to identify 5 schools that are sponsoring master's courses that align with my undergrad. Now, I write down the names of these 5 schools, and I also write down the names of these courses as well. Then I move to the next theme, which is promoting global security. I also do the same survey. I move to but by the time I complete, let's say, for example, in this theme of promoting global security, promoting global prosperity, I was able to come up with 5 schools that are sponsoring master's courses under this theme. Now, if I had 5 from the first theme, 5 from the second theme, I have 10 schools already that are on my short list. Then I move to the third theme, which is science and technology for development. Let's say in this particular theme, I was able to, because this theme is mostly dealing with engineering courses. Let's say, for example, there was no course that that aligned with my course of study. I exit this particular theme because it's not connected to what I study. And then I move to the next theme, strengthening global peace, security, and governance. I do the same. I move to the next theme, strengthening health systems and capacity. And then I do the last theme, which is strengthening resilience and responses to crisis. Now, by the time you do this survey, let's say, for example, on your short list, I will stop sharing my screen now. Now on your short list that you've created, you have like 17 schools that you've highlighted, and also 17 courses as well. Now, the next stage, in fact, I will even say before you apply for UK admission, this is the first stage. This is the first thing you must do, because your short list that you've created will determine the type of courses you apply for and the schools you will also apply for as well. So let's say, for example, in your short list, you've created 17, you've listed 17 schools with 17 master's courses. The next stage for you will now be to start applying for this courses. So you will go to, let's say, for example, School 1, London School of Economics and Political Science, MSc International Economics. Then I will go to the page of how to apply, for the admission. And by the time I complete the admission process, I come back to the scholarship portal and also apply for the scholarship as well. Then you do this for all the schools on your short list. All the schools, let's say, for example, you've highlighted 17 schools, all the schools on your short list, you will apply for admission for them separately, but then you also apply for scholarship for them as well separately. Yeah, now when applying for the scholarship, which is where so I'm now continuing from where Kamal stopped, it's very important to so Kamal spoke about, don't allow your application to scream like jackpot, like you want to leave the country. It's very important to explain. Don't tie all your scholarship goal to just academic endeavor. So, for example, in one of the questions that we ask you in the essay, one of the questions that we ask you, they have a question on, I'm trying to pull out the question. Question about, I think the outcome. Okay, the outcome that you aim to achieve. What is the outcome that you aim to achieve with this scholarship? Now, it's very important for you to explain how your past research that you've conducted while you were in undergrad. Let's say, for example, you wrote your master's thesis or your undergraduate project. That you shouldn't play with your undergraduate projects. And please, it's very, very important. Your undergraduate project, you should not plagiarize. This is another thing that is also very important that I've seen as well in people's application. There's a lot of plagiarism. And sometimes when I'm reviewing application, I could instantly tell that this person essay is not original, that the person has actually plagiarized, because the people who are going to be reviewing your application, they are experts in their field. They know, when they are reading your essay, they could tell what is original and what you actually copied, because some of them, they've read books, they've read articles. So I remember reviewing someone's essay, and when I pick up the essay, I start reading from the first 3 lines, and I'm like, no, I've read this somewhere. So I stay reviewing my all the articles I have on my laptop. I'm like, I've read this line somewhere, and I eventually found the article that the person was plagiarizing. So please don't plagiarize. It's very, very important. Now, you also want to explain how your past research, what you've done in your undergraduates, is how you plan to further that research during your master's program, or how you plan to develop like new type of research. So in essence, what I'm saying is you have to make sure that you explain how what you want to achieve for this, what you want to achieve, the goal you want to achieve for the scholarship is not a virgin goal. When I mean a virgin goal, it's not a goal that you've not been working on. Like what Kamal said, I mean, some people, they don't have consistency. So today you are in education, tomorrow you are in climate change. It's not like you cannot be eclectic. You can be eclectic. You can have, there are people who have track record of visibility, of achievements, of community service, contribution, scholarly contribution, professional contribution in multiple fields. There are people who have expertise in law, in finance, you know, in environments, and they can actually show it. So if you're not in that category, if you cannot show what you've done, even if it's one goal, one field you've developed your expertise, even if it's one field that you've developed your expertise, you have to make sure that you explain how what you've done in the past. You have to show your track record that, you know, in this, for this field, I have so track record. That track record can either be academic publication. And like Kamal said, I remember when Kamal was applying for a scholarship, at that time, he has not published anything. I mean, he neither had an article like in Science Direct or any of the scientific journal. But when I looked at his application, I told him that, I said, Kamal, this some of your research, upload them on academia.edu. And when you upload them, put that link in your scholarship application. So although Kamal did not publish, it did not have like academic publication, like what we call like a research publication, but his research paper, he uploaded it on academia.edu and he used the link. So you have to show, like, you have to show something, whether it's a news article or something that gives substance to your story, so that your story does not appear just vague and idealistic. Nobody found ideas. Nobody found ideas. People found things that you have track record in, whether you've been conducting research in the field for years, or you've had like publication in the field for years, or you have like professional contribution or professional certification, for example, in the field. For example, those in the commercial sector. Let's say, for example, you've done like ICANN, you've written ICANN exam, or you've done ACCA, you've done so many of this like professional accounting certification. That those certifications can serve as your track record. So you have to show how what you've been doing in the past is actually connected to what you're doing in the present. And if what you're doing in the past is not connected to what you're doing in the present, you also have to explain why you are developing something new and the knowledge you've gained in this new field. Let's say, for example, your undergrad is in microbiology and you are applying for MSc in international development. You know, people will say, okay, you're applying for MSc in international development, your degree is in microbiology. How is that connected? But then if you're able to show that, you know, although I don't have a degree in economics, political science, social sciences, or humanities that I could use to apply for MSc in international development, but I have so and so years of working within the international development milieu. And then you give your track record that will further buttress and add substance to your story. So that's very important. You have to show how what you've done in the past is connected to what you want to do for the MSc. Another thing that is also important as well is you should also show so they're going to ask you a question. Why are you applying to the school you're applying to? And why are you applying for this particular course as well? So you have to research the university you're applying to. Let's say, for example, you want to apply to LSC. You have to sit down and actually research LSC. You know, research like the different centers at LSC. Let's say, for example, you want to do Masters in International Development, and you can make a case that, well, there are so many schools in England that offer Masters in International Development. But the reason I'm selecting LSC is because LSC have so and so center, or so and so institutes, or they have so and so professors, or so and so caliber of expats, or being in London can provide more opportunity for me to carry out this other professional network. You have to state a cogent reason, why you are selecting the school and why you are selecting that particular course as well. And it's also very important as well that there's one thing I learned from Kamal's story, which he probably didn't mention, is before Kamal started his master's, he had a clear end goal. Unlike me, right from scratch, I knew academia is where I want to be. I mean, I've prepared for academia all my life, right from undergraduate program at ABU. Anybody who know me when I was in ABU, we know that Abdulbasit has obsession with academia. So, but in the case of Kamal is not wired towards academia. Kamal is wired towards entrepreneurship, towards like in the business world. So while he was doing his master's in England, he combined his academic study with other like professional networking with business community in England. So what I'm saying is, in your application, you can also explain how, if I gain this opportunity, I will not just be gaining academic knowledge, which in most cases are often abstract and theoretical. They don't deal, academic ideas sometimes do not deal with the real world. I mean, most academics just stay in the ivory tower. We stay in the ivory tower. We keep using like big jargons and vocabularies, but sometimes academics don't really deal with the real world. But then in your application, you are stating that I am doing this program because, or I want to go for this course because I want to gain not just academic knowledge, but in the city of Durham, or in the city of London, or in the city of Bradford, or in Glasgow, they are so community. I have researched the city of Glasgow. They have this community of expats. While in the course of my master's program, I want to engage with this community of expats. Those community of expats might not necessarily be in academia. They might not even be affiliated with University of Glasgow. But you will explain how, if I am admitted to the University of Glasgow to do this master's program, while in the course of my master's program, I will also use that opportunity to make connection with this group of expats. And I need to make this connection because this expert, you now state the reason. So what I'm saying in essence is that in your application, when you're applying for the scholarship, don't center everything on just academia. You also have to show what the city you want to apply to, the school you want to apply to, what are the other available opportunities in that city outside that university that you can tap into as well, that will further enrich your scholarship experience. In some application I've seen, I mean, people were mentioning things like, oh, when I go to England, or if I'm in London, I will visit London Eye or Tower Bridge. It's not like it's bad to mention Tower Bridge or London Eye, but that's luxury, because for some of these essays, you are limited with just like 100 words, 200 words, 500 words. So in 200, 500 words, you don't want to talk about luxury. If you go to London Eye, you are going for fun. If you go to Tower Bridge, it's for fun. Rather than mentioning Tower Bridge or London Eye, research about professional communities in London, or professional communities in Manchester, or professional communities in the city of Leeds or in Bradford that you plan to connect to that in the course of your program. And that connection will help you to further gain like real or hands-on, real world experience, that will complement your academic knowledge. That point is very important. Another thing I will mention as well, in addition to that, is now when one of the questions they will ask you when applying for this scholarship is, what do you plan to do in return? Like when you return back, what do you plan to do? Now, from all the scholarship applications I've reviewed, including some of the recent ones that people sent to me, and I've started reading them, there are a couple of people that I've read their essays, and I have to say, wallahi, I am super impressed by some of the people that have read their essays, that they sent their essays to me. Let me just mention some names. I hope that they are here also listening. I'm going to send their feedback. I'm already making like some comments on the feedback, and I promise to send it hopefully before the end of next week. But their names like, I read this person's application. His name is, I'm trying to pull out the name. Okay, I think there's one person called Alfred Apaji. I read this application, and that application is so excellent. Like, I read the application and I just told myself, this person should get the scholarship because he ticked all the boxes, like I couldn't even find, it was very hard for me to find any deficiency, in the application. There was also another person's application I read. His name is Aminu Yusuf. Also an excellent application. There was also Dan Abubakar, excellent application as well. I mean, so far, all the applications that, all the essays that people have sent to me, I've been reading these essays. Most of these essays are actually, they're excellent. But one thing one thing that I find missing in some of the application, not all, one thing I find missing is when there's a particular question in the application, they will ask you, what do you plan to do when you return? For some of this essays I've reviewed, what they mentioned that they're going to do when they return is quite vague. Someone mentioned, oh, when I return, I will plan to like apply, or plan to apply to like a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm like, okay, you have to mention something that is out of the world, like something that is, when I mean something that is more pragmatic and practical, or you can even like, let's say, for example, you're working in the field of public health. You're working in the field of public health, and then they ask you, what are you going to do when you get this MSc and then you return back to Nigeria? What exactly are you going to do? Now you can mention that, oh, when I return back to Nigeria, I have started this pilot program. I'm going to, you mention, you give something that is more cogent, something that is more practical, rather than something that is more like vague and general. This is one deficiency I actually found in some of this application. And then one other important point, which was very, very important in Kamal's case, you have to, when you apply for this scholarship, you have to keep monitoring the updates for the scholarship. If you don't get any updates, there's no harm in asking for updates, but you have to be very cautious when you're asking for the updates. So usually the scholarship portal will give timeline. They will tell you that our application will open by August. It will close by November. The scholarship award winners will be announced in March. So if, for example, you wait by March, you did not get any updates. Nope, you checked your email, you didn't get any updates. And when you look at the portal, they said they were going to announce the scholarship winner by March. There's no harm in you asking for updates. And I will cite an example for the case of Kamal. Now, when Kamal applied for his master's, he won the PTDF scholarship in Nigeria. And he was planning at that time to go to Newcastle University in England. And he also applied for Commonwealth as well. He was planning for Commonwealth. He applied to Durham University. Now, Commonwealth didn't send him any updates. And then after the deadline had passed for award winners, Kamal told me at that time, and we were discussing about it, and I told him, send an email, just ask for updates. And then he sent an email. When he sent an email, they told him that, oh, you were actually on our wait list, and we will get back to you. And then after some few days, I think about 4 or 5 days from correct, they got back to him and they told him that, you were previously on our wait list, but now you've been selected. And that was the way he was eventually selected for the Commonwealth Scholarship. So what I'm saying in essence is that there are people who, when they apply for scholarship, they don't regularly check their emails. You have to constantly be checking your emails, following all the updates. Checking your emails, following the updates is very, very important. But when you're following the updates, don't do it in a way that like every month you send them emails that, oh, what is the current status of my application? You don't do that, because the moment you do that, you can easily be disqualified. Rather, you follow the timeline of the scholarship, and you monitor the timeline, and you seek for updates based on the timeline. Now, another thing I will also advise is, particularly for those who are applying for Commonwealth Scholarship. I understand that now there's been a lot of like ulabalu and hopra around IELTS, whether Nigerians should even do IELTS, because I said, well, after all, I mean, our language of instruction is English. We studied in English, right? I mean, our university courses were taught in English. I mean, they were not taught in Arabic or taught in any other languages. They were taught in English. So, so many people complain, why should we have to write IELTS? Now, I would advise that if you apply for the scholarship, if you have the means to do IELTS, write it. If you have the means. The reason I said that is because in some cases, when you have competitive candidates, and let's say, for example, you have like 6 competitive candidates, and they only have 4 slots. Sometimes the determining factor for selection can be English proficiency. So let's say, for example, they have like 6 candidates, 6 competitive candidates, they have 4 slots. They will look at, okay, they've looked at all the different segments of the application. Everything is intact. So they have to look for something to disqualify 2 of the candidates. Sometimes the disqualification can actually come from the English exam. And that's why I often advise people that even, I understand why people are campaigning for why IELTS should be scrapped. But I always advise people that write it. If you have the means, write it. Inclusive of people who are applying for PhD in America. Hopefully, maybe at another webinar, I will be able to break down and explain the stage-by-stage process of applying for PhD in America, because I think that's also important as well. And sometimes I get questions of how to apply for PhD in America. In America, I always tell people as well, whatever program you're applying for, write GRE exam. Even if they scrap it, write it, because because that exam can also be a determining factor for selection when you have competitive candidates. So to wrap up this section of mine, I mean, I would say that it's important that you follow up your email, make sure that you constantly monitor your email. You have to create a short list. You have to make sure that whatever you are explaining in your essay is not vague and idealistic. It's something that you have track record to show. And that track record can come from different avenues. It can come from academia, it can come from like community service, volunteering service, but something that shows that you've been doing something, something that is tangible. And then it's also very important as well that what you seek to gain from the scholarship, the knowledge you seek to gain from it, don't limit it to just the confine of the university you're applying for. Research the university, research the city where the university is. Look for like different professional communities in those in that particular city. Let's say, for example, you're applying to the city of Bradford in England. You look for what are the community of experts, professional community in Bradford. Do they have community of engineers in Bradford? Do they have like do they have community of like public expert or professionals, so that you will connect your academic knowledge to other professional knowledge. You complement, you explain how professional knowledge can complement your academic knowledge. I think I will stop here, and I think other ideas about the scholarship would probably come from the Q&A. I mean, I'm sure that other people have questions or even contribution or things to add, and I'm sure maybe Kamal can also add more. Dr. Adamu, you can also add more as well. Maybe from the Q&A, I will get more like questions and things to talk about. But in general, I would say, please don't give up when you're applying. Like I said, I mean, in my own case, I had like 17, I applied for 17 schools and I got 16 rejections. The rejections can be quite painful. I mean, I've helped people to review application on, particularly on Facebook, that, you know, they've not been successful. And sometimes when they send me the rejection email, it's a period of mourning, both for me and them. We are sad that, oh, subhanAllah, after all this effort you put into this thing, at the end of the day, it's important to be brilliant. It's important to show the work that you've been doing. But at the end of the day, wallahi, is also, there's also an element of luck as well in applying for scholarship. When I mean luck at being at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing at the right time. I'll give you a very good example. Anyone applying for scholarship today, we're still talking about like this. I'm sorry to say that person might not get any scholarship. Like, I mean, because the A-Day of Boko Haram crisis is gone. Like, there's so many other. So if you're applying for one of the theme of the Commonwealth Scholarship, which is the theme of crisis management, and then you're using Boko Haram crisis now, it might not necessarily be convincing. Why? Because there's so many. The world has moved beyond Boko Haram. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other multifarious crises that have developed that Boko Haram crisis is not even seen as something inimical like that anymore. So what I'm saying is, in essence, is there's an element of luck in applying for scholarship, and don't ever get tired. And most importantly, when you write your essays, always seek for people who will give you feedback. Share it with your colleagues, share it with your friend. You know, the feedback can even be in grammatical composition. That's also another thing I've noticed in some of the essays I reviewed. You know, sometimes someone is misplacing tenses, like you're putting past tense and present tenses together, and you just feel like, no, this shouldn't be like. So when you give other people to help you to review your application, they can help you to highlight some of those, you know, mistakes that might overlook you. So that's also something that is very important as well. So I would love to stop here. Hopefully I can answer more questions. Kamal can also answer more questions during the Q&A, and Dr. Adamu Tilde can also add more as well. By the way, thank you so much. It's so nice, you know, being on this platform. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulbasit Kassim. I don't know, Engineer Kamal, do you have something to add? Before we get into the Q&A?
For now, no, I don't have.
Okay, to the audience, anybody with question, you can raise up your hand. Then Brother Rabi, you can unmute any person. Then he can ask his question. And please, while asking your question, go straight. Don't narrate anything that has already been said. Just ask your question, and then Mala Abdulbasit or Engineer Kamal can attempt to answer those questions. Okay, I've seen 6 hands. Okay, I'll pick one at random. Then Abakar Usman. Mama Rabi, please, can you unmute Abakar Usman so that I can ask his question?
Anyone that wants to ask question can raise his hand so that I can unmute.
They already raised their hand. Abakar Usman is there.
So where do I start? Abakar Usman.
Start with Abakar Usman.
Okay, Abakar Usman, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and the enlightenment. My question here is concerning the IELTS or TOEFL score. I happen to have a score. I sat for TOEFL in 2014. I have the score with me. Can I use such, or I have to sit again? Thank you.
Abdulbasit.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I don't know if I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. To answer your question, to be honest, a little bit torn when I tell people to write IELTS, because I understand the state of economy in Nigeria. You know, things are hard. Things are hard everywhere. Even here in the US, things are hard. Things are really difficult. And I understand how, for you to write IELTS or TOEFL, you have to save money. These exams cost application, although not for Commonwealth. Not for Commonwealth. This is so for the PhD admission, they sometimes invite like graduate students to also read the PhD application. And I've been in a situation where they had limited slots, about 4 slots, and they had 6 competitive candidates. And the only thing they used at the end, because they tried to look at any other disqualifier, it wasn't possible. And the only thing they used to disqualify 2 candidates was this English exam. So I still
the question is not like that, bro. The question is he had TOEFL score since 2014. Could he still make use of that TOEFL? And now it is almost 8 years since he had.
No. So usually IELTS and TOEFL, they usually last for 2 years. If my still quite current about the exam. I know, for example, IELTS only lasts for 2 years. After 2 years, it expires, particularly for the academic IELTS. IELTS is like, they have the general IELTS and they have the academic, but I think it's usually for 2 years. But there are other ways that you can, there are other ways you can show your English proficiency. So the other way you can show your English proficiency for those who cannot afford the exam, either IELTS or TOEFL. Another way you can show your English proficiency is from your transcripts. So for those of us who attended, I don't know, I think all schools, you must have enrolled for courses in GENS. I know one of the GENS courses, general courses in the university, is English and communication skills. So if you cannot afford the exam, whether IELTS or TOEFL, but if you're lucky that in your GENS exam, like I know at ABU, I think it's GENS 102. GENS 102 is English and communication skills, if I can still recollect properly. So if you have like maybe A or B, GENS 103, thank you, GENS 103, English and communication skills. So for example, if you have A, if you score an A or you score, let's say, a B, you can still use that to show your English proficiency. And maybe you've taken other English courses. It might not necessarily. So if you cannot afford the exam, or if you've written the exam before but it has expired, there are other ways you can show. Just find other ways you can show your proficiency, and you have to explain it in your application. You have to mention it for them to show that you have that expertise.
I have like 12 hands. I will call Salah Babayo. Please, engineer, ask your question, Salah Babayo. Malarabi, can you unmute Salah Babayo?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulbasit, for the wonderful presentation. So my question goes to you. Just turn off my video. You've started highlighting the application procedure that involves nominating agencies like the Federal Scholarship Board. So one of the Commonwealth Scholarship schemes that is ongoing now requires nominating agency. And one of the nominating agencies is FSB. So in your opening statement, you made mention about the selection procedure. I don't know if you can revisit that and tell us who actually assists the ASS. Is it the Commonwealth Commission or the FSB? And how is the nomination process? And like who announces the winners, and the institutions, or do the institutions involved in the selection process? Thank you.
Thank you. Abdulbasit, do you have information there I can chip in?
Now, Dr. Adamu, I think you can answer that question.
Okay, Engineer Saleh, yes, FSB like Abdulbasit rightly mentioned, is the Nigerian nominating agency. There are other nominating agencies which includes place of work like universities. So during the course of the application, you will tick in which nominating body will serve as your nominating agency. Then you may pick your university, or the university are not general all universities. There are some select universities. Not every university is actually part of Commonwealth Scholarship. Then when you pick FSB as your nominating agency, you submit your application and everything. FSB will go through that, and it will actually organize an exams for you. So there will be exams. After the exam, written exams, then there will be series of interview until FSB actually come up with a complete list of here are, based on our procedure and our examination and interview, here are the successful candidates, the list of successful candidates. So anybody now who actually ticked FSB as a nominating agency, you should expect an email. So there will be a sort of like stage by stage long list, short list, and then they'll subsequently invite people for interview and examination. And if you actually take your university as a nominating agency, you may have to actually submit a reference letter from the VC, and the VC in himself, not really HOD or Dean. The VC himself will actually, yes, this is our staff, and okay, we are nominating him for FSB for Commonwealth Scholarship. The mandate for actually who gets what is actually FSB. It's not really UK or the university you are applying to. But part of it, part of the requirement is that you have to get an admission from any university you are applying to. But the final list actually will be submitted through FSB, and based on the examination they will have for the applicant, and that will actually what Commonwealth will consider. When you are successful, then they will actually get you the visa and everything. So we'll call Zainab Umar. Can you ask your question? There are so many people can actually submit their question via chat. I will read the chat. If there's any relevant question, that I will actually ask either Abdulbasit or engineer to answer.
I am muted, Zainab. She can go on.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for the presentation and for all the assistance. And I want to, as a staff of Federal University Dues and Markets here in Nigeria, does it mean that if I have that nomination letter from the Vice Chancellor of our university, that means I am covered? I mean, I do not have to take the interview by FSB and all? That's my one question. Secondly, I realized that there is need to upload 2 admission letters from UK universities. In the essay, do I need to mention the reason for choosing 2 universities or my first university of priority? These are my 2 questions, and thank you.
Actually mandate in if you select your university as that you actually have the best sheet, and Federal Scholarship will also have their own. And then finally, Commonwealth as the body has the final say on actually who gets what. Certainly, you won't go for any exams in FSB and everything. Abdulbasit, can you answer the second question? With regards to, since you have to actually select 2 universities, so while answering the question of why the university you choose or why the certain course you actually choose, how is she going to answer that question? Since there are 2 universities.
No, sorry, can you, Dr. Tilde, can you repeat the question? I'm not so clear about the question.
Then answer your question.
Assalamu alaikum. What the question I answer is that for instance now, I have 2 admission letters, one from University of Glasgow and another from University of Nottingham. So while answering questions in the essay sections of the Commonwealth application, so now I went to ask, if I want to answer the essay questions in the Commonwealth application sections, am I going to only talk about Glasgow, maybe with respect to malaria, since that is my university of priority? Or I'm going to both discuss about malaria and schistosomiasis, since the admission letters are from 2 different universities and for 2 different research topics?
Wow.
I'm confused about this.
It's a beautiful question, Abdulbasit.
Yeah, it's actually an important question.
Very important question.
It's a very important question. So if I was in your shoe, I would have to make a difficult selection by going with my priority. And the reason for that is because the number of words for the scholarship essays, the number of words sometimes is like 100 words, 200 words, 500 words. It's not enough for you to explain 2 different universities with 2 completely different research projects within that section. So I would advise, you might have to make that selection and focus, make a priority list and go with your priority list.
Thank
if
you.
I was, that's what I would go for.
And please,
Thank
Zainab,
you.
can Allah reach out to me via Facebook Messenger?
Okay, Dr. Adamu Tilde, please, can you, how can I reach out to you?
My name is Adamu. My username on Facebook is Adamu Tilde. It has my picture.
Yes,
there.
I'm following you on Facebook. I mean, am I communicating through mail or via Facebook Messenger?
Via Facebook Messenger.
Okay, thank you.
Shamsuddin, please, can you ask your question? Because you're also part of the first people to raise their hand. Shamsuddin, something?
I have unmuted Shamsuddin. You can ask your question.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Rabi. Alaikum assalam.
My question is, I actually understand that most of people who are asking questions have already started applying for Commonwealth.
We can't hear you.
What I'm saying is, most of the people who are asking questions have already started applying for this scholarship. So actually, I didn't start applying for the scholarship, but is it too late for me to start applying? That's my first question. Then secondly, you have talked about people who have first class and second class offer as having an added advantage. However, you do not discourage people with second class lower, you also encourage them. So my question is with regards to people that rate unclassified degrees, like pharmacy and veterinary medicine, and are they also considered, and if they are considered, how are they going to be like nominated, because their class of degrees is not classified? Thank you.
Okay, I hope Abdulbasit, you got Brother Shamsuddin's question very well.
Dr. Tilde, I actually got the questions.
Okay.
The first question, to answer the question, yes, other people have been applying. So like I initially said, when in the opening section of my presentation, there are 3 types of Commonwealth Scholarship for the masters. There's a Commonwealth Scholarship, Commonwealth Master Scholarship that is supervised by nominating agencies of Commonwealth countries. So in Nigeria, for example, the nominating agency is Federal Scholarship Board. Now, this particular Commonwealth Scholarship, the application is open. The application is open at the moment, and the nominating agencies, I think they've already started calling for like application. The deadline usually for this application is they open this application early. I think they open around like maybe sometimes August, and the deadline or the selection process runs through December. So by December, the Federal Scholarship Board in Nigeria must present the list of people they've actually selected to the Commonwealth Secretariat. Now, this is the first Commonwealth Scholarship. Now, the second Commonwealth Scholarship is called the Commonwealth Shared Master Scholarship. Now, for this shared scholarship, you don't need to apply through a nominating agency in Nigeria. You don't need to apply. You only need to apply for the UK university. You need to apply for the master's courses in the UK universities directly. Now, for this second master's scholarship called the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, it's currently not open yet, but it's usually open around October. And the deadline, it varies. I mean, universities, different universities also usually have their different deadlines. You know, some schools, I know that Cambridge and Oxford, their deadline is really early. You know, they have like early deadline. King's College, University of London tend to also have early deadline as well. While some other schools, they have like, you know, late deadline, even up to like April. So, but I think by October, this second master scholarship is going to be open. And I think when it's open, I will probably try, I will keep track of it. I'll probably inform Dr. Tilde so he can announce the scholarship when it is open. That's a second master scholarship. And then the third scholarship is called the Distance Learning Scholarship. Now, this distance learning master scholarship, you actually don't even physically need to reside in England. So this distance learning, from my interaction with people who have won the scholarship, is usually for people who maybe they've already started their program in Nigeria, but they need like maybe access to a particular lab, or they need access to a particular research material that is not available within Nigeria. So they apply for this. Is that distance learning or PhD split sides? But this distance learning scholarship, the master scholarship, I think it's the information about that. Sometimes it varies yearly. I mean, I don't have a current information about how that scholarship is run. I only know more about the first and the second scholarship, which is the General Master Scholarship, Commonwealth Master Scholarship, and the Shared Scholarship. Now, your question about pharmacy being an unclassified degree and how, so this is something I would say. Now, even though the eligibility for this scholarship, they actually wrote 2-1. You have to have a 2-1 to apply. I would say that even if you have 2-2, apply. Because I've seen cases where people apply with 2-2 and they were actually selected for the scholarship. The only difference is when you apply with a 2-2, you have to, your profile has to be, it has to be heavy on your track record. And you have to explain why you got the 2-2. Because we all understand the fact that some people got 2-2 either because in the course of their program, they had to deal with like health challenges, they had to deal with like challenges that it's out of their control, you know, that they cannot control, and that drastically affected their study. But you have to show that in the application. You have to explain that, okay, although I have a 2-2, I'm applying for the scholarship because I have so and so track record. I've done so and so thing. I've achieved so and so in other sector outside the academic, outside my my college degree or my university degree. And then you now explain that you add a 2-2 because of so and so reason. Now, if your reason is cogent enough, and maybe you even have like further evidence to give validity to your to the reasons you've mentioned, if that evidence is substantial enough and you have excellent track record, in some cases you can actually be fortunate to win the scholarship. I know of 2 cases of people who actually had 2-2 and who actually won Commonwealth Scholarship. So I would say if you have a 2-2, that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. You know, you can still apply as well. And then for those who have unclassified degree, honestly, I don't know and how Commonwealth assess those who have unclassified degree. But I would say that those who have unclassified degree, one other ways of showing your academic performance can actually be from your research. So even if you study pharmacy or you study veterinary medicine, that is unclassified. You have to show your research. And by the way, that research is not compulsory that it should have been published either in Nature or in any of the scientific journal. You can just edit the research. Either it might be your undergrad, revise the research, do the proper edition, upload it maybe on academia.edu, and cite it in your application. Mention it as, you can even say, there's a term we use, manuscript in preparation for submission to a research journal. You can mention that my research paper is currently in preparation for submission to so and so journal. You can mention that, but you have to give like a link, either academia.edu or Scribed. Is it Scribed? But academia.edu is more preferable in my own opinion. So the evidence of your research will show it will show the excellence of your application, even if your degree is unclassified. In my own opinion, I don't know if Kamal or Dr. Tilde has anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think let me add to what you said, brother. So in my own case, I graduated with 3.58. Yeah, 3.58 is quite a low CGPA. Coupled with the fact that you're not just competing with first class and top 2-1 graduates in Nigeria, but also other countries like India and Pakistan. So what I did, first of all, I'm not the type that like academic, like I'm not the type that like Boko, to be honest. Yeah, I remember in my 300 level, I was actually considering dropping out from the university and just go straight to business. I love business. I love it. You have no idea. I'm sure most of you know my brother. The way he loves Boko is the way I love business. But so in my 100-3, I was just doing, chemical engineering just to pass. I was very okay with, 2.95 GP, 3.00 GP. In fact, my worst nightmare is to spend additional 1 year just to be studying. So I don't want to spill. I'm totally fine with E. I was totally fine with D. But of course, I work so hard that I don't have an F. And of course, everything changed when I was in, I think, 300 level second semester. And that was when I saw this research work by Professor Idris Bugaje on Bio4, and it changed my life. So the person that was having 2.95, 3.0, because of my exposure to Bio4, because I really love it so much, and I see how I can use it to impact people's life. In my 400 level, I started having 4 points, and above, like even a first class GP. And that was how I was able to graduate with 3.58. So it's not all of us that love Boko. Some of us, we're just interested in business. But sometimes we need to also look at the importance of education. The honest truth is, whether you like Boko or not, you still need that education. It's very important. You need to be able to, communicate with, you need to be able to network with international partners. In fact, these days, if your dream is so big, you need partners from across the world. And one of the ways you can get them is through education. When I was in the UK during my studies, I know exactly what I want to achieve. So sometimes I even skip classes. I don't even attend these so-called academic classes. Rather, you find me in business, circle, events, and all that. But even while doing that, I made sure that I graduated with a very good results. but at the same time, I accomplished what other, my other objective. And of course, after I graduated, even till now, I don't even know where my MSc certificate is because I'm even an employer of labor, So for right now, almost 20 staff are working with me. So, and of course, I have a farm. Finally, I'm into agriculture. It's something I've always wanted to do. And finally, I have a farm. And, I'm sure Dr. Tilde and we're very much interested in that field. So don't allow, even if you're not interested in academic, see academic as a means to an end. You get it? See it as a means to an end. And if you graduate with 2-2, I know the person I know got a PhD scholarship and he graduated with 2-2. I think what he did is he actually did an MSc in Nigeria. So he applied for MSc and spent the 2 years. And with that MSc, of which he scored a very good result, he graduated with a very good result. Then he now used both the local MSc and the undergraduate to apply for Commonwealth shared scholarship. Even though he did not get the MSc, but he was on wait lists. And a few months later, he got PhD at Kansas State University. And how exactly did he got that? During that year, we both went for Mandela Washington Fellowship. I happens to be a Mandela Washington Fellow. They posted him to that same school. So while he was there, he was able to show his capacity in doing academic work. And the professors were so surprised that how can someone this brilliant, graduated with a third class undergraduate. He even graduated with third class, not even 2-2, if I can remember. So because of that, they picked interest in him and they advised him that, you know what, apply for PhD, do the necessary, exams, GRE and all that. And he did, and he got the PhD. So I think basically that's just it. Don't you graduating with 2-2 or third class should not discourage you from applying. What you just need to do is you need to work harder. In my own case, after I graduated, I was working. I got a job at Forte Oil, now AP, and I did amazing work there. Within 2-3 years, I was managing projects worth millions of dollars. You get, and there was track record. While I was working at Forte Oil. Apart from that, too, the volunteering experience I told you about at Global Shapers, when I was the team lead for environment and sustainability group. And during my tenure as the team lead, we were able to get funding worth $56,000 to do an environmental project. From there, the head office in Switzerland, because the head office of that organization is based in Switzerland, they reached out to me and they were like, Kamal, how can you be the regional lead for climate and sustainability working group? And I was appointed the regional lead for West Africa. Within 6 to 7 months, I was appointed the global lead for Sub-Saharan Africa. So you can see all those things. Apart from that, let's talk about Unleash, where I was in Singapore, and of course I work with other amazing young people, and we were able to design innovative, process that turns plastic into useful materials within 6 to 7 days. And we were given 2 awards, and I happened to meet with the president of Singapore, Ajia Alima, Yakub. So all these things I was able to show them in my application, and anybody that was reading my application know that, okay, this guy may not be so good with academic, but he's doing an amazing thing. Like this guy handled millions of dollars worth of projects. This guy, did work with a team to actually implement an innovative project within 6 days. This guy is working in one of the, leading non-for-profit organization. And, he got a funding worth about $60,000 and they're implementing it. So all those things can also support, you get it. So just try and find a balance. If you are not so good with academic, then find a balance in your professional.
Engineer, we have 4 minutes to go. I think at this point, maybe we may have to say sorry to their question. It's not really intentional. It's just that we are constrained by time, and our brother, we're actually having different time zones, so we may not even know what time is it at his own end. On this note, I would actually like to express our sincere appreciation to my favorite siblings, Kamal Kassim, and of course my good friend Dr. Abdulbasit Kassim, for actually sharing their experience with us here. And also, I would like to thank Engineer Muhammad S. Kabir for providing the platform for us actually to have this webinar. As a parting note, I made actually like 2 to 3 observations to actually people who are actually in the application process. A Commonwealth Scholarship is an elite actually scholarship. So please bear in mind that you really have to be deliberate. You really don't expect this thing to just happen like that. So really you have to work hard in just really in what do they call it? I'm not being politically correct here now. You just have to work hard. Secondly, Abdulbasit rightly observed, in India for once has over like 1.3 billion human beings, and with actually state-of-the-art schools. So they are with them. So you really have to really think twice and really work double myself to get a slot in that. And the last one is that and I think if you really want to apply for Commonwealth Scholarship, it should be like a sort of a year program, not really a 1 or 4 weeks program. Like these essays, and you really write yours, hacker, keep in touch with other mentors. It's not that just because I applied one. Take your time, study these universities, hacker. You already have questions with you, hacker. Reach out to people who are beneficiaries, okay? Take a time frame of, let's say, 6 months, involved in active preparation for this application. And also, if you realize that, okay, maybe through FSB, it may be difficult for me, why not? It may be an easier way, or maybe they have high reward for maybe, let's say, intelligence and actually better application process than our Nigerian process. So on this note, I will hand over to Mal. Otherwise, we can actually call it a day because you have only 1 minute to go. Mal Rabiu.
Thank you, Dr. Tilde, and also to Dr. Abdul Kassim and also Kamaldin Kassim. KCCD is most grateful, and to participants are most grateful. So on behalf of KCCD, the participant, we would like to say a big thank you to all those that ensure this is possible. Dr. Tilde for moderating the session and also attending to some of the questions. Thank you very much for all your support to KCCD and to our teaming youth in the country at large. And also to Dr. Abdul Kassim and also Kamaluddin. We are very, very grateful. Thank you very much. And as like I said, Engineer Kabir is actually on transit. He was unable to be completely with us because he happens to be on his way from Kaduna to Kano right now as we are having this session. For the recorded session, it will be available on the all media platform, Kabiru Sagagi Center for Community Development and Leadership, KCCD, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. It will immediately be available, hopefully tonight or tomorrow, and feel free to share, and so that for the benefit of all others that are not necessarily here, and also for us to go over and over again, because it contains a lot of very useful information. Thank you very much. And
I'm going to add like a party note from on my part. I'm so sorry. I'm going to add a party note. So I made a comment when Dr. Tilde announced this section, and I said that people who are currently working on the application can email me their essays, and I will try to give feedback. For those who have already emailed me, I've read some of the essays, and be rest assured that I'm going to send you the feedback, hopefully before the end of next week. And for others who are still planning to send their essays, you can forward the essays to my email. And one other thing I would say, I mean, you can also ask follow-up questions as well. I mean, you can ask questions. I have my email is there. You can reach me on Facebook Messenger. You can reach Kamal on his Facebook Messenger. But one thing I would say, when you're reaching out to people, please come prepared. The people you're reaching out to, and I would say in my own case, usually when I get any message, if I see that the person sending me that message has invested, has made efforts, I myself, I'll be motivated to see how I can be of help or support. I'll give you a very good example because Dr. Saleh Babayo is actually here on this platform, and he made excellent contribution. I remember sometime, I think last 2 years or so, I've forgotten the time, Dr. Saleh, he sent me an email. I think it was either WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. He told me he was applying for some scholarship then. And he sent me like his essay, even though that time I was going through a tough time in my own world. But the effort he put into the essay, the effort he put into the work, I was so, even though that time was a difficult time for me, you know, I had to, you know, take away the stress and look at his application, still try to give him like comments or something that I feel could support or help his application. So in other words, what I'm saying is, don't reach out to people with bland questions or questions that can be answered online. You know, come prepared. You know, let us see some of the time you've invested in doing your own personal research. You know, that will motivate and it's not just me, other people as well. It will motivate people to want to respond and contribute and, you know, support, because I mean, our individual lives, there's so many things happening in our individual life. But all in all, start applying early, as Dr. Tilde said, be consistent, always seek feedback. Seeking feedback is very important. And the feedback doesn't necessarily have to, it doesn't have to be me, it doesn't have to be Kamal, it doesn't have to be Dr. Tilde, it can be anybody. It can even be your friend circle. You know, your friend circle should not just be about, you know, football and so many other frivolities. Or I mean, football might not be a frivolity, I'm sorry for saying that. But it should not just be, your friend circle should also be people who are ambitious, people who are, when you gather together, you know, you are talking about a scholarship, you're talking about, you know, either the dean, or you're talking about like, you know, how to help yourself, you know, with worldly affairs, you know, how to make progress in your career. So you can share within your friend circle as well. So it's important to seek feedback. It's also very important as well to put your trust in Allah when you're applying for all of these opportunities, because at the end of the day, you can be the most brilliant, you can be the most intelligent. I will give you a very good example. There was a particular scholarship I applied for during my PhD. I reviewed the application of my friend. My friend and I, Lamine, who is from Gambia, at Northwestern. He applied for the scholarship. And when Lami, before he submitted his application, I read his application. I reviewed his application for him. And when we both submitted our application, Lami was selected for the scholarship. I got rejection. I was so happy for my friend Lavine, but part of me, I felt that, well, what I wrote is of very high quality, even better than Lamine. So why wasn't I selected? I mean, I felt that pain of rejection for like a day, but I was also happy for my friend Lamine. What I'm saying in essence is that you will get a lot of rejection, and don't allow that rejection to put you in a state of depression or disappointment. But you have to know how to quickly take yourself out of that state of mind. Whenever you get rejection, just tell them, just have this at the back of your mind that this is a phase. Inshallah, I will not stop. I will keep applying. And then lastly, very, very important, explore more opportunity. It's not just Commonwealth. Constantly, I mean, now, alhamdulillah, there's so many, like our mentorship program that Dr. Yakubu Sani Wudil is doing excellent work coordinating the mentorship program, and so many other platforms where they're sharing information about opportunity, about scholarship. Keep tab of those opportunities. It can be in Europe, it can be outside the UK, like Erasmus Mundus and so many other scholarships. It can even be in the US, because this is something I've noticed. Most Northerners, most people from Northern Nigeria tend to be more attached to England. You will see more people applying to the UK, but in the US, there are so many opportunities in the US, but it's only very few people from Northern Nigeria that actually apply to US schools, and it's not like it's hard to get into US schools. There's so many opportunities here. Maybe at another time, Dr. Tilde can organize like a webinar, and I will take my time to explain like different opportunities are available, whether master's and PhD opportunities. So in a nutshell, explore your opportunity. Don't just limit yourself to UK, or try the US as well. Try Denmark, try Switzerland, try try Korea, try Japan, try places that you believe that if I gain this skill, or if I gain this degree, it can advance my career plan or my career trajectory, or it can give me more skill, and that can make me more employable, or it can help me in my entrepreneurial dream, and so many, just be explorable in general. That's what I would say. Inshallah, Jazakallah khairan for the time. Thank you so much, Dr. Tilde, for the invitation, and for others who also tune in as well. I'll stop here. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That's it for this. Allah saka da alkhairi haka. So on this, Rabi, akwai wani sanarwa ne ko kuma babu? Baka ba kowa tafi.
Ba wani sanarwa, Doctor. Kawai the recording will be available, and mun gode for all of you.
Zo ko ka saurare mu. Allah ya taimake mu, Allah ya ba ko for your time. Sai an jima.